Hello there. I'm Joe Ruggiero, and welcome to my podcast, Inspired, and the people who inspire me. Well, we're going to the world of fashion, and this guy has an interesting career story. So let's meet Miller McCoy.
Great to be here. Thanks for the warm introduction.
Well, let's hear your story
Yeah.
and how it's grown into this business.
Yeah, so originally born and raised in Iowa, the suburb of Des Moines, Iowa. Kind of a flyover state, not a whole lot to do there, not a whole lot going on or anything. But I've always been into the world of business. I've always been into the world of creating arts, fashion, that sort of stuff. And fashion actually grew down the line. It first started off when I was about 9 years old. I was teaching myself how to do magic, right? And when I was first born, I was actually born with chronic pain, chronic nausea. I had lots of different health issues. Nobody could really figure out what was going on or what to do with me, right? And it is still something that I have today, but I've learned how to live with it, how to cope with it, how to get, it's turned me into the person I am today. And
Moving.
Yes.
Really, it's...
Yeah, it's obviously been a challenge, right? But it's now something that I use as my drive, right? And I don't let my health issues hold me back or consume me anymore. I try to figure out a way to turn them into a superpower and a chance.
That's why we wanted you as a guest on Inspired. You inspire us all. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, yeah, being back in Iowa and having some of these health issues, it didn't really allow me to always be super proactive in sports or in school or with peers or anything like that, right? And I knew a lot of people. I was a fun, outgoing kid, but that was when I had the opportunities to, and more times than not, I was sick, right? But when I was feeling good and everything, I was, out there. I was having lots of fun, trying to make up for the days that I'm sick, right? And around the age of 9, I started practicing and teaching myself magic. It was something I could do anytime, any place. It didn't matter if I was sick. It didn't matter if I was healthy.
How did you learn?
Actually, through books, through YouTube. Magic is a wild world. You think that
I think of Houdini.
I absolutely. Actually, this summer I was at the Houdini estate here in Los Angeles area.
Right.
Yeah, so I would teach myself a lot of. It first started through YouTube videos and watching, simple magic card tricks and stuff like that. And I really began enjoying them when I enjoy something and when I start to get into something, I'm kind of an all or nothing type of guy, Joe, right? I dive headfirst into it. So magic ended up consuming me for years and years of my life. And well, with my health issues as well, it was something that I could really invest my time in because I'm not always in school. I'm not always doing all these extracurricular activities like a normal kid from where I'm from is doing. So that was my thing. And, I was able to just do a lot with it. And by the age of 12, I was doing corporate events and banquets and birthday parties and just lots of fun, unique sort of things. Magic actually ended up allowing me to travel out to Vegas when I was like 13 years old to go learn and train and work with some very talented magicians.
Wow.
And then from there, I was able to go to New York, and then I was able to go to Los Angeles and do stuff at the Magic Castle here. And so at a young age, I was into the creative world, right? Magic is a performance art, right? And you have to be very creative with how to do it at a successful level, right? Because most of the tricks and once you understand magic, and especially like at a card deck level, right, or just a simple sleight of hand level, the moves are the same. It's just a dependence on how you use those moves and utilize those moves to make a grandiose trick, right? And so you kind of you watch other magicians, you practice yourself, and then you learn how to blend a few different things together, and now you've got a big, large trick that you can perform on stage in front of hundreds and hundreds of people.
So how does this lead to fashion?
So yeah, exactly. When it's always been magic is a creative venture, right? And with it, well, I guess actually around the age of 15, 16, right? I began actually having a subtle falling out with magic. And for about a good 6 months, I was kind of besides myself because I wasn't really practicing magic very much anymore. And I didn't really have a creative, something that was creatively driving me. And so with the magic, I suppose, I had to teach myself subtle graphic design and web development and things like that, right? I didn't have the means to hire a graphic designer to build my business cards
Right.
or make my website or anything like that. So I had to teach myself those things as I was also teaching myself magic. And I began feeling inspired by doing a lot of graphic design work. And so, and at that time, you know, I'm making something on a computer, right? And I'm trying to show it to people like, hey, no, I think this is art. And a lot of people, graphic design wasn't really viewed very much as an art form quite yet. And so I was trying to figure out a way I could get other people to also see it in the same way that I'm seeing it and understand I guess you could say almost the impact that this design, this piece of computer art that I've made is viewed as. And so I began to think of, okay, well, maybe I can turn these into tangible products or tangible things. So I started taking a lot of the designs I was making, and I'd find a local print shop in my hometown, and I'd have them make some T-shirts for me with my graphic design on it. And now I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe this is a little bit more tangible. This is something that somebody can actually visualize, see, wear. It's physical. It's not just on a computer, right? I don't have to just email it over to you for you to see it or whatnot. And it started to. I started to get a better response by doing that, and I began going, I'm kind of like I said earlier, I'm an all or nothing type of guy, Joe. And so I started just going head first into, well, now I'm making shirts and I'm making posters and I'm making portraits and let's keep down this lane. Let's see what it has to offer. And my grandma growing up, she's a seamstress.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so, as I began to really dive deeper into the world of fashion and learning that, there's a lot more beyond just printing a design on a T-shirt, right? Actually, one year for Christmas, my grandma, she sat me down and we made my first pair of pants.
Wow.
And so I remember it's a pair of black denim jeans, and I took bandanas and I sewed bandanas all throughout, and I cut holes in them and would sew the bandanas behind the cut denim and whatnot. And so that was the first time I had really sat down and worked with a sewing machine.
And you began to dress famous people.
That's right. So yeah, actually only a couple years after that, probably, I probably around the time I was 17 or so, still living in Iowa, I was really pushing my personal brand called Human. And there was a lot of, most people in Iowa at that time didn't want to wear it, had no interest in it or anything like that. It was far out there. It was more LA and New York styled fashion clothes that I'm making, right? Not farm town stuff. And I started getting, I would just contact as many people that I could think of that I would see that would be like, okay, you would look cool in these clothes and you have some level of influence and following and whatnot. It would be awesome for me to be able to get my clothes onto
Right.
these people. And so slowly but surely I'm sending out care packages and goodie boxes and stuff like that. And before I know it, I'm starting to see through all social medias and magazines and stuff like that, hey, wait, that's my shirt. Oh, that's my sweatshirt. Oh, those are my pants. That's my hat.
Right.
You know, and so I began building up a bit of a repertoire of a bunch of musicians and people with level of influence wearing my garments. And with that came credibility for people in Iowa to begin actually supporting what I was doing. And they're like, okay, well, if these famous people are wearing your stuff, we've got to, you know, you're a kid from Iowa. We got to be able to wear some of this stuff too. So I started having local pop-up shops. I would host one a month where I would rent out a store at a mall or something in a strip mall or a boutique looking store. And
You're a great businessman.
thank you. And we would just, you know, I'd make a collection of clothes. I'd stock the retail location with those clothes, and you know, I just promote. Before I know it, I've got a line of people waiting outside of the store, trying to get in. We open up the doors, and you know, in comes the flood, and we're moving T-shirts. I'm moving hats. Right now, I'm actually making real sales here there in Iowa. And I actually ended up taking the funds from that sort of stuff and moving out to Los Angeles, where I was doing a lot of the styling at that point. And it was not really full-on styling, right? It was me sending out a care package to this person who's living over here.
All the designers do it.
Yes, and it allowed me to be closer to those people to where I could actually say, hey, instead of me just shipping you the box, no, I'm going to I'm going to make my way over to you now, and I'll do it in person for your music video or for your concert or for whatever it is that they were working on. And that allowed me to begin building that deeper connection with these people, being able to actually kind of put more of an art form to it because I'm getting to see the environment that they're in beforehand. They're telling me kind of the ideas that they're working with, and now I'm really making customized pieces of clothing for whatever it is that they need the styling for.
Right.
And around that same point in time, Joe, is really when I began seeing a much larger picture and future inside of this fashion space, right? I began understanding that fashion as an art form, it speaks loudly not only to the people that are viewing how somebody looks, but also the person who's wearing it, right? I began styling I remember an album photo shoot that I was doing the styling on an artist for, and I get there and I see they've already got a clothing rack set up that has a whole bunch of different clothes on there, from high-end designers to people that I would view as competition and stuff like that. And you know, I get there and they come right up to me. He's like, they don't want to wear any of that. They just want to wear your stuff. So right. Come on, get your clothes out. Let's style them, and we got to get on with the shoot. And so I began viewing this, and it was giving me confidence, and it was I had the proof of concept was there. I knew what I was doing was exceptional and was accepted by these people and stuff like that. And as a measly kid from Iowa, I never thought, in a million years that it would end up going the way it had gone.
What is the brand name?
So yeah, the brand name was called Human Clothing. I still do it till this day. I do. It's toned down quite a bit. I've done one collection recently this year. I worked with his name's B.B. Simon. He used to dress Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jackson, a bunch of major legends and kind of the entertainment and music space. He really revolutionized the Swarovski crystals in fashion.
Exactly.
And Simon and I have worked together going on about 3-4 years now. Around once a year or so, we'll do kind of a collection together. This past year, the collection that I did, it had a big level of juxtaposition between the glitz and glam of Hollywood and my hometown in Iowa.
Interesting combination.
Yes, yes. So,
How did you bring them together?
yeah, so Joe's obviously, so Simon, BB Simon, he's known for these loud Swarovski crystals all over belts and on,
Right.
studded out on garments and stuff like that. And I was known for agriculture and farming and the outdoors. And so I put together almost it was a workwear collection. So it was like heavy denim, flannels, vintage looking garments and stuff like that. And all of the base garments were of the hometown style, where it's like almost like beat up Carhartt stuff, right? And Simon and I worked together to embed all of them
Wow.
with the stones and everything. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, it was a very fun take on workwear, and we jazzed it up, if you would, with all the Swarovski stones and whatnot. And we ended up doing another pop-up shop at his flagship store in Melrose.
But your brand now is Miller McCoy, or
Yeah, so I also do I have a personal line that's a little bit of a more higher end customs. It's called Made by Miller, and it's of a higher caliber of what human would be.
where would you like our listeners to go look?
Yeah, you can. I've got a website called themillermccoy.com. You can get a good overview of kind of everything there. And I've also got social media, just Miller McCoy, my first and last name. And that's just, I kind of post everything there. It's a little hodgepodge of, the human stuff, the Made by Miller stuff, and, that one of the big things that I do in my present life is, along with running those two brands, I also help build brands, product and fashion-based brands for all of those musicians and entertainers that I was once styling at a time. Right? They all began knowing that I was styling them in my own clothes. And so they all started asking, in a traditional sense of styling, a lot of people will, if you're just a stylist, you're not necessarily a designer, right? You'll go purchase a whole bunch of different clothing that you think would work for for the environment that you're styling the artist or the person in. And it's not necessarily your direct clothes, right? And so when I was doing the styling, they all knew I was styling them in my own clothes. So a lot of the musicians and people, they began asking after a little while of doing this, hey, these clothes are great. We love what you do. We love what you make. Could you perhaps make them for us, though? And that's kind of where a light bulb switched in my head, and I went back to the business side of things, where I was like, I could probably have a greater level of success on the business and finance side of things if I started also doing it for these people, right? It'll take me from going and making, a couple hundred of T-shirts and pants of what I'm currently doing, and now this can open me up to doing thousands and thousands for higher level people and people that have larger audiences and consumer bases. And I had already been doing it at a fairly successful level for myself for a little while. So I was like, sure, I'll take the same things I've learned throughout this time and I can incorporate it and do it for you guys.
Right, and you manufacture it, and
Yeah, we do the whole nine. So we manufacture it. I do the graphic design for everything. We do the web development for everything. We've got a warehouse that does the warehousing and fulfillment of everything. We do all A to Z.
how large is your staff?
Well, here's the thing. So the direct team, there's actually only about 7 of us. So we've got, however, we're partnered with over 60 global facilities.
Wow.
So it's important for us to have a global scale of things, because a lot of the musicians that we work with, they're major touring artists, right? And so if I've got a band that's touring all around Europe, and if I'm stuck having to make everything if I just have a facility or a warehouse in Los Angeles, Well, now I got to import all of the merchandise that we're making for that band into Europe, and then each country that they're going to is going to have its own duties and import fees and taxes and whatnot. And so we leverage partners that are strategically placed in major cities and countries across Europe, across Asia, Mexico, South America. We work with a lot of Latin artists as well, to be able to make the product directly where they're going to be performing. So that way we don't have to worry about the imports, the duties, because it ends up eating you up. And if I have a show 24 hours after the next show in a completely different country, and my pallets of merchandise get held up in customs, well, that's a lot of money.
Right.
And that comes back on me, right? I mean, sure, of course, people can be reasonable and understand customs is out of my control, but at the end of the day, it's my duty and it's my job to make sure that all these shows, they've got merchandise so that way they can at least have that stream of revenue coming as well.
Did you ever anticipate that you would be in this position?
No. Long story short, no. Did I anticipate? I've always had big dreams. I've always been a dreamer. I've always wanted more for my life. I knew I wasn't going to be in Iowa my whole entire life, and I knew that the opportunities that were there for me in Iowa were only there for a temporary time, and I could outgrow it, and I could move on to something bigger and better, and something that fit me a little bit more. So I knew I was going to do something kind of bigger and maybe in the creative space, but I didn't ever know what it was going to be, and I never really knew. Doing what I do today, no, I had no clue where it was going to how it was going to shape out.
Well, you followed the opportunities, which I think is so interesting, and I think that that's great advice. If you want to tell our listeners about how you develop that ear.
Yeah. Following the opportunity is everybody likes to. You can't wait around for the opportunity to come to you. You have to be proactive, and you have to actively be out there, putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, taking risk, stepping out of your shell. Right? When I moved out here, I knew two people, or three technically. It was the two people that were the roommates that I shared the apartment with, and then there was one person on the opposite side of town. That's everybody that I knew, and I had to learn and network and put myself out there, really take risk, take opportunity, shake as many hands as I could, tell my story, try to get my foot into the rooms that I wanted to get into. Right, and so the opportunities, sitting around and waiting for the opportunities to come to you, you're going to be sitting around forever.
That's right.
They're never going to come to you. You're going to have to go out and chase them and actually make the opportunities sort of happen, if you will, right? And you might be able to say something was a lucky break, but if you were the one that has been putting in the activity and putting yourself in the rooms and making the outreach pushes and the networking opportunities and stuff like that, you're the one that's stirring all of that up. That's just a fruit of the labor that's actually now starting to happen, whether it takes 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, right? But it's you actively have to be doing it day after day after day to be able to make anything really happen and follow those opportunities.
Well, I tell my kids, it's like sailing. You have to tack to get to your destination.
Yes.
And it may not be exactly what you want, but it could lead to the next opportunity.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct.
But I think you have to have a good ear to know when it's right for you.
That's an interesting point as well. Especially in a place like Los Angeles, right? You can get caught up in the mix and all the mumbo
And they're not
jumbo.
very friendly out here.
No, they're not. It's being able to have the right ear to understand the correct opportunities and real opportunities from false and big, almost braggadocious opportunities. I've been burned countless times in this industry. You're going to follow some opportunities that you might think are the one, and you might think that this is going to be what makes everything happen. And 2 months into following that opportunity, you might look down and see that you're getting scammed, you're getting taken advantage of, And full transparency, I went through that route. When I first moved out here, I had a big opportunity. Now, granted, you still learn a lot from those opportunities that you get burnt on, right? But that ideally, you're able to take the learnings and the lessons that you had from that and go turn them into something fruitful or allow it to not happen to you again.
Well,
right?
It's like a kid testing the fire.
Yes.
You say don't, and they do, and then all of a sudden they get burned.
They get burned, but
Right.
they learn. They're not going to do that again.
No.
And so it's having that ear and being able to tune and train that ear to be able to listen to what is fruitful, what is right, and what is actually going to make sense versus opportunities that aren't real opportunities, right? And I think you have to play in both lanes for a little bit until you really start figuring that out and you have that ear tuned in.
Good advice.
Thank you.
In closing, now, what is and I hate to do this to you, but what is the one piece of advice you would give someone starting off in the fashion business? It doesn't have to be one.
No. I think the main piece of advice, and I think it is extremely true in the fashion and the arts business world, but I think it goes even beyond that. But primarily the creative ventures is you've only failed once you've quit. Creative.
I love it. I love it.
A creative venture can't. Yes, you might have times where it doesn't perform the best or when something doesn't do the best, but you're still on your journey. You're still on your path. The second that you take yourself out of the journey and out of the path, well, that's the time where you can consider it a failure. But if you still try and you wake up the next day and you give it 1% more. You wake up the next day and you go 1% more. And you do that day after day, you're not failing. Just because something's not going your way, you haven't failed, right? It's a learning opportunity.
Miller, you have been such an inspiration to us all. I thank you for spending this time, and good luck in your adventures. You're headed in the right direction.
Thank you.